The Caps lose 3-2 in overtime against the Detroit Red Wings.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
But before we get into this game, I want to poll the audience real quick, and I want to see what you think. This game brought an interesting question to mind. Don't ask me why this question was brought to mind. It just did during the game. If you could pick one, just one, which would you pick? Alexander Ovechkin is guaranteed to beat Wayne Gretzky's goal-scoring record, or Alexander Ovechkin wins the cup again with the Caps before he retires. No cheating, just pick one. Comment below which you would prefer. I know which I would prefer, but I'll get to that later in the video. All right, to the game. Oh, this is a frustrating game because the Caps didn't play a terrible game. Well, they played a pretty terrible 5-on-5 game, but overall, they absolutely should have won this game. But all negative aspects aside, the one highlight that comes to mind for me is the Caps scored on the power play. Not even just once, twice. The Caps scored on 2 power plays. They went 50% on their power play conversion in this game. That's much better than the 0% they've had in the past 15 attempts. As much as I hate to break a streak, the 0-15 power play streak is over. Thank God. But to no avail, even though the Caps converted twice on the power play, their 5-on-5 play was pretty crap. So Ovechkin gets on the board, nothing new here. He scores almost every game at this point, and Kuznetsov is back on the board. He skips a game, but he is right back on that horse. But Ernie, Fabry, and Larkin are able to score for the Red Wings. This is just, it's so frustrating to have one aspect of the game that's been so terrible finally turn around, but then another aspect of the game that usually is really good, and that is 5-on-5 defense, it was just absolute crap. Just no sustained pressure, no forechecking, terrible back checking. The Caps just looked like they were scrambling the entire game until the third period. I mean, just look at the attempts in the third period after Fabry tied the game. Alexander Ovechkin hit the post. He was literally 2 inches from taking the lead. You have this nifty little play in the third period, and then with like a minute and a half left, we could have completely won the game with this play. But why? Why did it take until the game was tied in the third period to get those chances? There were chances before, yeah, but these were primo chances. And you would think with the Caps going to overtime as much as they do, they would be a decent overtime team. But I tell you what, this team, they just refuse to adapt to the 3-on-3 gameplay. 3-on-3 is a completely different animal than 5-on-5 regulation. 3-on-3 is all about puck possession, winning draws, and then holding on to the puck as long as possible. And the Caps did neither of those in this overtime. Alexander Ovechkin and Kuznetsov were out there the entire minute and a half until Larkin scores. Red Wings have to freeze the puck early in overtime, which causes an inside draw, and this draw was pivotal. If you win this draw, the Red Wings probably don't score. But because the Caps lost that inside draw in overtime, the Red Wings get possession, and they maintain possession for the rest of overtime. And because they had possession and they had pressure inside the Caps zone, the Caps weren't able to change. Well, Carlson was able to get off and Schultz come on, but that was about it. And by the way, why would you start John Carlson in overtime? Orlov is your overtime man. You put the Russian trio out there to start, they usually always get chances. Carlson is he's just too slow of a defender to play in such open space. That's just, I mean, not like Carlson or Orlov had good games. I think they both had pretty bad games, but if I'm gonna take my pick, I'm putting 9 out there, not 74. And you gotta give Larkin credit on this shot. This is a primo grade A shot. He uses the defender as a screen. Vanacek is not ready for that shot to come. And by the time he is ready for it, it's already in the back of the net. Also, by the way, when did Larkin stop looking like he was 15? Stop me if you've heard this one before, folks, but the Caps are again letting teams come back into games late and then going to overtime and ultimately losing in overtime. Outside of that Calgary game, when they were down 0-3, scored 3 goals to tie it up, and then went to overtime and lost, besides that, I can't tell you the last time the Caps actually were the team to come back and tie up the game to force overtime. Well, actually, I do know because I looked it up before filming this video. It was in May of last year against the Philadelphia Flyers. And that's including 3 overtime games against Boston in the playoffs last year. That's right, all 3 overtime games in the playoffs last year, the Caps had the lead and let Boston tie it up and then ended up losing in overtime. There's a pattern here, folks, and the pattern is Not only are the Caps letting teams come back into the game, but the Caps don't adapt to the 3-on-3 play style to end up winning in overtime. And when you do that from the second game of the season to the 82nd game of the season, that's a lot of points left on the table that you did not accumulate. So if in the end the Caps don't end up making the playoffs, you know why. It's because they consistently lose in overtime, leaving that point on the board. You gotta get those points to get all the way. It's just the season before the season, I know, but you still gotta get there. All right, and as promised, my preference on which I would prefer, Alexander Ovechkin guaranteed to break Wayne Gretzky's goal scoring record, or Alexander Ovechkin guaranteed to win one more cup with the Caps before he retires. That's an easy one, guys. The record. Look, as much as I want the Caps to win another cup with Ovechkin, and I really do, we've already won one with him, and that feeling, I'm gonna hold on to that for the rest of my life. I will never forget what that summer felt like, but you know what's gonna be even better is if we can say as a Caps fandom that we had the greatest goal scorer of all time on our team, only on our team. Literally from his first game to his last game, he was a Washington Capital and he was the greatest of all time. Just think about that. You can't beat that. Thanks for joining me on this episode. If you like the video, smash that thumbs up button. I would really appreciate it. It does a great job at promoting the channel and recommending content to other Caps fans who might like it. And if you enjoyed your time here, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to see you come back. And as always, Caps fans, let's go Caps!